In the realm of magic and supernatural abilities, there are several superheroes who possess incredible magic prowess, but are relatively unknown to the general public. I mean, we all know Zatanna, but how about Phantasma? Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda McKnight, aka Vampex13, and this list will be exploring some of these lesser-known magical superheroes and their unique abilities that make them stand out as we count down the top 10 magical superheroes you've never heard of. Who are your favorite magical superheroes? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, Phantasma. Not her official name by any stretch, especially considering she isn't even technically a canon character yet, or even a confirmed variant of any kind. Who are we talking about here then? Phantasma was the name given to the Ghost Rider Champion's variant cover character that Luciano Vecchio gave to the variant he was prompted to design for the series. For the new Champions team, Marvel decided to try out a series of variant covers with ideas of what imagined sidekicks or established heroes could look like, and it's been suggested that some of the characters we see on the covers could even be making their way into canon. Regardless of whether they are considered canon or not, in regards to Marvel, I always think if a variant appears somewhere, even on a cover, it's possible that somewhere in the multiverse they could exist. And that could just be the case with Phantasma as well. After all, there are infinite realities. So if a character appears somewhere, even in a dream, I'm always like, that's probably a real character somewhere. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to show us you love us by clicking that like button. Seriously, it's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for the whole world. Number 9, Manitou Dawn. In the Prime Earth continuity, Manitou Dawn is an ancient and powerful magic user who originally came from Atlantis. After Atlantis sank, she was one of the few who survived this event and migrated, coming to America. She would end up being one of the people to establish the Native American Apache tribe. It was revealed during the events of the second volume of Justice League Dark that during her life, at one point she was approached by and marked by Hecate, being one of the chosen few to bear her witch mark, symbolizing that Hecate had stored some of her power within Manitou Dawn. Number 8, Jennifer Kale. I feel like Jennifer Kale has come a long way since her humble origins in Fear issue number 11 from 1972. There, she was basically a side character, a kind of kid companion to Marvel's Man-Thing. In fact, she reminds me of another story featuring DC's Swamp Thing, where he saved a little girl only to later find out that she was actually possessed by a demon after going on some adventures with her. Took a while. But I digress. Who is Jennifer Kale? Well, she is attached to the prophetic cult originally of the sunken city of Atlantis before it sank, another Atlantis tie-in, known as the Cult of Zered-Na. Her grandfather, Joshua Kale, ended up as the leader of the cult in the modern age, guarding their sacred texts. However, when his teenage daughter Jennifer visited and she was interested in witchcraft, she used one of his books to summon a demon. Fortunately, the Man-Thing came along and saved her from Thog, the demon she had summoned. And it was through this initial adventure that it was discovered that Jennifer had established a psychic link with Man-Thing. As a result of this adventure, Jennifer ends up being trained by Takim, once a pupil of the Zered-Na, and has continued to be a strong and magical presence in the comics. Although every now and then she flips between kind of being a powerful witch and settling down into a normal life, or at least trying to. Number 7, Tim Hunter. Tim Hunter has the potential to be the most powerful magic user in all of DC, but most wouldn't know that because he's not their most popular or well-known character. Timothy Hunter made his first appearance in the Books of Magic issue number 1 in 1990. This means that although he bears a resemblance to J.K. Rowling's magical boy Harry Potter in terms of his appearance and in terms of his origin as a child of destiny, he actually greatly predates Potter. So while some might compare the two, it would actually be more accurate to suggest that Hunter may have inspired Potter and not the other way around. Tim Hunter was created by Neil Gaiman and John Bolton. He has many contradictory origin stories that are basically all in part true, and he's destined to become Earth's greatest magic user. Number 6, Witchfire. Witchfire is one of my favorite lesser-known magical superheroes out there. She's not just a magic user, but is also a musician as well. I think that's why I love her so much. She's got more going on than just magic, you know? Her Prime Earth version also happens to have one of the coolest designs, so that is also something that I absolutely love about her. She just looks so cool, and she doesn't really get hyped enough because while she has an awesome design and backstory, she isn't a character who gets written about a bunch. So there is also an air of mystery to her that I think is just great. Number 5, Detective Chimp. Youth. Detective Chimp might be a character some are familiar with, but ultimately a lot of folks out there do not know that he is tied to the world of magic. However, if you do know about him and haven't thought of him in this regard, you perhaps should not be too surprised, considering that he does get his intellect from a magical fountain, really, the Fountain of Youth. The Fountain of Youth gave Bobo not just an improved intellect, but also the ability to communicate with all animals, even gaining the ability to speak language so he could converse with humans as well, who, remember, are also technically animals. Detective Chimp, aka Bobo T. Chimpanzee, as he is also known, would go on to become one of the greatest detectives on Earth, even rivaling the detective skills of Batman. Hence why many people don't think of him as being a magically based superhero, but he is. He also has the Sword of Night, so I mean, like, he's got a lot of ties to magic, weirdly. Number 4, Khalid Nazur. Khalid Nazur is lesser known than his uncle, Dr. Fate's Ken Nelson, but he is indeed also Dr. Fate, or one of the people to be known by that superhero name, I should say. Khalid takes up the mantle in his uncle's stead, or rather his great-uncle's stead, as Khalid is actually the Egyptian-American great-nephew to Ken Nelson. Khalid became a member of the Justice Society of America and was also part of the group known as the Justice League Dark, a magical and more secretive spin-off team from the main Justice League superhero group. Khalid would become Dr. Fate at the behest of the Egyptian gods, who chose him to take up the mantle. Before this, Khalid was simply a med student living in New York City. However, after answering the call to become the new Dr. Fate, he becomes his great-uncle's protege, studying under him. Number 3, Sister Grimm. Nico Minoru has a pretty tragic story, and while she's made a good number of appearances in the comics and is likely well-loved and known by Runaways fans, folks who haven't checked out that series or the show based off of it likely won't be too familiar with her. That is to say, she isn't necessarily a household name, at least not yet. Nico has an interesting backstory. Like the other Runaways, she herself is a hero, but one who was born to a group of villains. Her parents were dark magic users, and upon her running away from them, they attempted to permanently defeat Nico upon catching up to her. However, Nico wouldn't be defeated so easily. It turned out she herself was a magic user too, and the staff of one her mother attempted to run her through with was actually instead absorbed by her body. It became something that she could then use. Trying to get rid of someone with a magical artifact doesn't always work, it turns out, especially if they're magical. Number 2, Amanda Sefton. Amanda Sefton is the adopted sister of mutant and X-Men member Nightcrawler. She is also one of Kurt's major love interests. Yeah, it's weird, it's complicated, but it's a thing. Amanda was actually an alias that she adopted when she went to investigate what her adopted brother, Kurt, was up to after the death of their other brother, Steven, was claimed to have been his fault. Undercover, Jermaine Zardos, which is her real name, became Amanda Sefton, and it was during this time that Kurt would actually fall for her, not recognizing that Amanda was his sister, Jermaine, at the time. Jermaine, or Amanda, as we more commonly know her now, is a powerful sorceress and has been an ally to the X-Men, also at one time belonging to their unofficial Muir Island team. Number 1, Scarlet Witch. No, not that Scarlet Witch. This Scarlet Witch. Natalia Maximoff is the mother of Wanda Maximoff, but many people don't think about her or even know of her because Wanda's origins are so convoluted and complex. When most people think of Scarlet Witch, they think of her and her brother Quicksilver as the mysterious children of Magneto. However, this was later retconned in the comics, and it was revealed that her birth parents were actually Natalia, the Scarlet Witch, and an unnamed man, known only as the Scarlet Warlock. In attempting to rescue her children from being kidnapped by the High Evolutionary, Natalia perished. Yeah, that's also a whole other thing. So Wanda now has a birth mother who is a magic user whom she inherited her powers from, as opposed to them really being a mutant in origin, especially because she's no longer a mutant either. Since her mutant genes were created to disguise that she and her brother were actually experimented on by the High Evolutionary. Why? I don't know. He's the High Evolutionary. He's weird, I guess. That's about it. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.